Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, September 29th, so we are at the end of the month. So whatever I end at is probably what I'm going to end at. I made it up to rank 17. Haven't really given it enough of a sample size or a scientific experiment here, but I think I'm pretty much just going to be shooting for 18, 17 each month in ranked play and not really worrying about it. Things schedules are certainly up in the air, and since now I am trying to stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday consistently, still no guarantee of any real time. Like, I was going to start streaming at 2 p.m. and it's taken me this long just to get set up. Woke up feeling a little sick this morning, so I hope that's just nothing. As far as daily quests, we need to win 2 with the Druid or Rogue, play 20 that cost 5 or more, and play 50 Shaman class cards. So there's a lot there. Let me know in the chat if the audio sounds funky. It definitely sounds funky to me. I'm still adjusting things, so I'm gonna turn it back up. That's a little bit better. The music in Hearthstone in particular is just kind of the background music, though. So, do we have a Druid 5+ to start with? Well, first of all, we have to do the Tavern Brawl. Get that free card pack. Encounter at the crossroads, pick a class, and let's see what deck you get. Alright, fine, Druid. Easy enough to begin there. So, I'm recording for the November Thanksgiving month of my channel, and it is really making me rather thankful for the games that I actually picked and wanted, because I've played probably 30 games and liked 3 of them. The games that I've gotten free that you're given to are just so overwhelmingly bad games, not worth playing at all, that it's not really even worth your time to take a free game. Even if you wanted it, even if you're desperate, I'm not sure it's worth doing that. Let's just play that. Why not? A lot of news right today. We'll get into that as people. The YouTube announces yet again broken. Can't really do anything. Let's see, give him a +2/+2.
Howdy.
Go ahead and get rid of that first. Man. I don't know how good of a stream today is gonna be. Honestly, I'm feeling low energy. Something weird with my internet required me to reset my router for some reason. My internet service provider did something on their side where I was only getting 1 megabit per second download, and yet I was getting this exact same amount of speed upload, which is kind of ridiculous because you, at least in all other cases, it has been consistently 60%. 60 megabits per second immune. Kill this guy. Kill this guy. Do that. That's nice. For November, I've managed to, besides Hearthstone, have 3 time slots, and I think that's kind of what I'm gonna do. Is just kind of cheap out. And if I could actually finish all of November before I even start with October, that would be really nice. Because then I can just move on to December and then move ahead to January with my pre-recorded content. And that is the Tavern Brawl. We got lucky there, and so if we get lucky here and finish everything, then I'll just call this a day. Part of being more consistent on streaming is gonna also turn into more consistency on length. I don't think we're gonna do 5-hour streams unless there's real reasons to do that. Let's see. Let's play a druid deck of some kind. Pirate druid, why not? Ranked or wild. Yeah, why not just play ranked? Because we need victory, that's why. So let's start going through the news. Apparently Nintendo borrows creators program members from streaming his game. Nintendo's turbulent relation with the community of content creators over the YouTube seems to be in rocky waters once again. The company recently shot out an email to its members of Nintendo's creators program to make them aware that streaming Nintendo games on YouTube is not allowed under the initiative. Wasn't that what the creators program was? Am I completely confused? While streaming can be beneficial for developing and generating interest in the games, not all game makers are keen on seeing streamers and YouTubers make bank on the backs of their releases. Nintendo in particular has received flack for denying YouTube creators revenue on videos using footage of their game. Nintendo is the worst. Wow. Oh, Invinerate. I forgot. Invinerate has been nerfed. Oh, it is awful now. Wow. That is just horrid. Like, this card is no longer worth playing. Only 1 mana crystal. Let's see. The Nintendo Creators Program itself was a compromise between Nintendo and the YouTube community created following a controversy. Membership to the program allows video makers to split ad revenue generated on such venues with Nintendo. So, basically it was taking even more of a cut than... Yeah, this is what I thought it was. Oh yeah, because the Nintendo's Creator Program required you to submit like every video for review, and therefore streaming is not allowed. Like, you'd be retarded to be... I hate to use... I guess I shouldn't use that word anymore, but whatever. You'd be really, really dumb to be in the Nintendo's Creator Program. Like, what we seriously need to do, and it's the thing that even PewDiePie has proven himself afraid to do, is we need to fight Nintendo Japan in particular in court, and let them file content ID things, and when they deny it, appeal it, and when they deny it, appeal it again, and make them take you to court and sue you. Particularly people that don't have any money or that are underage. Like, in particular, make sock puppet accounts and put up YouTube videos and fight it, and just make accounts that you know are gonna get taken down, and just waste Nintendo's time and prove to them that their action is so dumb that they give up on it. And sadly, that's kind of the only thing we can do, at least right now, until the law is changed. And that's what we really need to have happen, is we need to have the law changed so that, well, it's not even a law change in Nintendo's account, because Nintendo's not following any law in the United States for United States people. They're following their interpretation of Japanese law, which I don't think is correct even in the Japanese stance. And part of the problem here is definitely there are people who are in the mainstream video game media who tell them that it's their right and that they have to do that. And there are probably lawyers that tell them the exact same thing. And the people that are saying this either don't know or do know that they're wrong and they're saying it anyways. And when they should just be silent. I'm not going to say for certain that Japanese law isn't 100% correct and that they do have to always defend against even the smallest of streamers, but I seriously doubt that's not the case.
Amazing.
Like, I feel like they're misinterpreting law, and YouTube needs to work with Nintendo so that they understand US copyright law. That well, I know for a fact that they're misinterpreting law because they've claimed videos that would have been owned by Ubisoft as their copyright, simply because Mario was a licensed character in Mario X Rabbids. Like, they claim, even people that they're working with, they're claiming copyright on when they don't have copyright. If you license your character to another game, the person that created that other game owns the copyright on it, and therefore you can have nothing more to say on it. It's the same issue of music in video games. Well, it's a very similar issue, where if the video game creator licensed that music and somebody's streaming that video game, it is an unreasonable burden, just generally speaking, for somebody to have to say, well, I'm going to have to go relicense the music, relicense all the video, relicense all the assets, because just because. I don't know. This again is probably just a rant, and Nintendo sucks. What can I say? I am so done with them, and I was such a sycophantic fanboy of them, really, when I was young. I have a massive collection of Nintendo things, and that's why anybody has any good feelings for them at all is because of nostalgia and the games they had when they were kids. But when you start to look at their modern actions, when you even look at some of their actions probably in the past, I think you quickly find out that they were money grubbing and dishonest. I mean, they really, even in their first release of Donkey Kong in the United States, they were stealing and violating copyright of King Kong. All Donkey Kong is a parody of King Kong. They knew it. They were sued over it. They got away with it, but you've gone from a company that established itself, really, in video games by violating copyright, to a company that now regularly abuses it to maintain its own monopoly, which probably is a triopoly between Sega and let's play on casual so we actually get some wins. Sega and Microsoft and Nintendo.
Malfurion versus Garrosh.
Victory or death! I must protect.
So yeah, rant. On the Nintendo front, the Super NES Classic is out, despite having Star Fox 2 in it. It has, I think, maybe 35 other games, whereas the NES Classic has like 70. And honestly, that's not the biggest collection, and you could have easily had one device. I know for a fact you could have a Raspberry Pi that could have had all of the Nintendo games that they could license, so potentially 700 plus, and all of the Super NES games that they could have licensed, particularly 700 plus, and it could be in that $70 price point, depending on how much they're actually paying for licenses. But it could have been a much bigger selection, and certainly not all the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games are good and worth playing for it, but I don't think 10% of NES games and Super NES games are, or 5% in Super NES's case, are the good ones. I think you can get closer to 30 or 40% of the games being worthwhile to play. Of course, not all of those games are made by Nintendo, so they would have to license it, and there's definitely some missing games when you talk about license. There's also some missing games just depending on a person's nostalgia. If you had a Super NES, you're gonna run into games that you played but a lot of other people didn't play. And as you get into the NES era, a lot of the games were bad games, just not worth playing, incredibly difficult to play things. The hardware is exactly the same in the Super NES Mini. Super NES Mini front connectors that are really Wii connectors hidden behind a plastic flap that looks like Super NES connectors is awful. That plastic flap looks horrible. It doesn't line up when it's open from what I was seeing. I watched Giant Bomb go through every single game and try them out and all the settings, and you can do better in RetroPie. You can do a lot better in RetroPie. You can have a much better setup. It's actually, a Raspberry Pi is half the size of a Super NES, and honestly, like Jim Sterling said, like, because Nintendo doesn't care about copyright, why should you really care about copyright? And frankly, if you're limiting yourself to old games, you can't purchase most of them anyways. Setting aside the maybe 100 that are on the NES and Super NES Classic, the vast majority of all other old NES and Super NES games are completely unpurchasable at any reasonable fashion. Maybe you could go buy a cartridge from a collector, or spend a lot of effort going to a lot of grocery stores. I mean, not grocery stores, junk stores, pawn shops.
My blade be thirsty.
I live to serve the Lich King.
Let's see. Moving on though, in a Nintendo rant. I keep getting into rants, really. Like, people were asking me about the opinion of the new Star Trek Discovery, and after I talked about it for a while, I was like, yeah, I kind of ranted about it, and then what I was ranting about it was not quite along the lines of what other people were ranting about. So, like, I'm trying to avoid that, trying to avoid that a little bit. moving on, Metal Gear Solid and Fallout voice actor Barry Dennen, Dennen, has passed away at the age of 79. A brain injury after falling in his home. Falls for elderly people, very dangerous. He's the voice of Fat Man in Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Master Lee in Jade Empire, Police Chief Bergen in Grim Fandango, and Dean Domino in Fallout New Vegas. Brought a number of Dota 2 characters to life, including Chaos Knight, Phantom Lancer, and Rubik. So there's something to be said there that he's probably not the most well known ever. Voice actor, but he's probably well known enough. Let's see. He also appeared in various TV shows, including Batman: Tales from the Dark Side, Titanic, The Shining, and Superman 3. There was no... he was in the movie The Shining, and Superman 3, and Tales from the Dark Side. And so he probably was in the original Batman movies too. So he's pretty old. But yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of that as we go on, of actors that also worked in video games and voice acted. We already talked about the SAG-AFTRA union agreements being at a tentative end, that they've come to a tentative compromise, and so the strike is tentatively over. As we go forward with more of that too, we will see more name recognizable actors in video games, and hopefully we'll eventually get a balance so we don't get actors in video games that didn't work at all. What I don't want to have happen is get actors in video games, this is the one I should be playing, that can't voice act, and we've had some of that problem certainly in the past, where people can be actors, or they can get away with being actors by just looking good. And that's part of a bigger problem in movies in general, where the some of the actors in things like Twilight are just good-looking teen drama kids that are actually probably older than the age they're playing, but they're not really good at emoting or speaking or anything. They just look good. And when you take away the fact that they look good because they're voice acting for a virtual reality CGI character, then it doesn't work very well. And they are just very different things in general. So like some good actors probably wouldn't be good voice actors, and a lot of good voice actors wouldn't be good actors. Let's see, this is interesting. It's not really an article, other than Fire Emblem Heroes is adding performing arts heroes, Olivia, Inago, Azura, and Shinguru, which I'm sure none of that makes much of any sense to anybody that's unfamiliar with the game, and I think that's the case for me. Fire Emblem Heroes is iOS and Android game, and what it looks like is they've added characters that are dancers, and it's at least a couple of them are being shown as kind of belly dancers. and in belly dancer outfits. So Fire Emblem is a weird one because it's a Nintendo property, but or it has something to do with Nintendo, but it doesn't have that Nintendo family friendly element or Western appeal to it. There's another PS Vita visual novel launching on November 9th in Japan called Our World Is Ended, and maybe I've already seen this one. That's an interesting thing to announce, considering how the Sony Entertainment executive, one of them at Sony, specifically came out and said that they didn't see a market for Vita in the West. So while the market for visual novels in the East, and Japan particularly, which is all they really care about, is still very big and popular, and people are still making games for it, like, there's no chance whatsoever of a Vita 2 or anything anywhere else. And there's probably not even going to be a Vita 2 in Japan, which means eventually the Vita will just stop getting games made for it in favor of cell phone games. Let's see. So here's an interesting story, because Dead Rising 4 is such an old game now. I mean, I think it may have come out in 2017, maybe it was late 2016, but they're adding fan-requested improvements on December 5th. Updates coming to all 3 versions of the game, so that's the Xbox One, PC, and what's the other version? Probably PlayStation 4. So they're let's see.
The frozen winds guide me.
Let's see. There will be human enemy improvements. Maniacs are human enemies that Frank encountered during the course of the investigation. Some of the maniacs will also have new maniac minions who attack them, so okay. Distress calls now for people to they're adding 6 memorable side missions that we're calling distress calls. The team is looking up in additional ways to improve the overall gameplay experience. I thought also it was going to have some photography challenges. Maybe that was another thing. Like that, yeah, I thought there were going to be some missions where you take out some photography. One Piece Grand Crusade launches 2018 in Japan. What is it? Launch on PlayStation VR in Japan. Man, VR might actually succeed in Japan. And if, I guess maybe that would eventually bring it over to being popular enough in the West. If I'm seeing a picture of one of the One Piece characters, she has long red hair and she's wearing a bikini too small for her bust size and has a tattoo on her arm. In general, I feel like of all the animes, the longest running anime ever of One Piece has just a fandom of its own, and I have no clue how big that fandom is in the West, really. Man, I use that phrase in the West and the East a lot, but it really is the only thing that kind of fits. This, and this. So if it's a VR game, I don't even know. The game will feature a shooting battle against a kraken, as well as modes you can talk to Nami in her room and make dialogue choices. So Nami is the girl I'm looking at. It also appears that you can train with Zero or go to Chopper's room. So mostly the focus will be around making dialogue choices and talking to Nami. And it's not even really, to my understanding, like One Piece is focused around any romance or anything like that at all. Anyways, I think the main character doesn't even think about that stuff very often or at all. Let's see, another game, 5PB, is that the name of it? Announces memories off : innocent file with 2 L's in it, so it's not file, it's fillet. A visual novel series returns after its last release in 2009. From a company 5PB period. Part of the Memories Off visual novel series. Unannounced platform. It will launch on the PS4, Vita, and PC in an update. So the platform was unannounced originally, and then they asked questions and I got things back. Man, journalists are so quick to put out these articles and just be first that they always have to come back and update it and say, oh, now we have some real details and some actual news to talk about. Instead of just doing your research first and then... Let's see, and I'm watching the trailer for the Memories Off series, and it seems like it's just showing me pictures after pictures after pictures, so it's probably selling itself pretty accurately as a game with just a lot of stationary pictures where you're looking at some anime girl and she is asking you questions and talking to you. There we go. Let's see. Is this an article worth talking about? Not really. Who published this one? This is PC Gamer. 7 indie games about food. I don't care about any number of indie games about food. Elder Scrolls Online, apparently promoting the Clockwork City as an expansion. I'm not going to play any of that, so I don't care. Here's one of those web pages where you click on the article and there's... Oh no, it's just really scrolled downward. Yeah, but this isn't even an article either. This is just the Unreal Engine writing an article about how to make 3D environments and things in Unreal Engine. Things that don't matter to general people. Let's go. Silence of Minion. And this. And this. And this. A decent number of games that I looked at that I got free looked good in the screenshots, to be fair. But almost all of them that I looked at and looked good played awfully. Major issues of controller support. One of the worst examples is Binary Domain, where it's a game that has voice interaction, so you can actually talk into your microphone and it can figure out a few key phrases, and you would think that would be cool, but while the controller pretends like it's supported. It actually doesn't work, and mouse and keyboard settings are clunky and difficult, and it's just literally an unplayable game for me.
This jungle hides
And
many
which kind of sucks, because otherwise it would totally be something I'd be willing to do. Let's see. Moving back to the news, Final Fantasy version 1.16 update is now available. The new event is added to chapter 12. Seriously, why do you want to play a game that is unfinished? Like, Final Fantasy, and this is Final Fantasy 15 that we're talking about, should not be played until it's completely done. Like, particularly in the Final Fantasy series, they have gone crazy with adding more content and adding more content. That's why we have 13, 13-2, 13 Lightning's Return. Like, clearly they just want to add more and more and more. And I don't want to play a game that is going to have potentially 25 different variations in which you might have experienced this game compared to anyone else, because it's always updating. I want to have the update. I want to have the experience of a game that you would potentially have 100 years from now. The finished experience. I want to read Shakespeare as it's finished. I don't want to read the first draft.
winter is here.
Hopefully I'm getting some achievement, some daily quests done by doing this. Swery's next game, The Good Life, adds dogs to its game, which I think has specifically fixed an issue that he overlooked. I'm sure in Japan it's not as likely to have dogs, or for dogs to be as beloved as cats. But the truth is, in the Western world, it's about 50-50 dogs and cats as far as pets. And so you're leaving out half of your entire audience, half of the world, by only picking dogs. Now, there is still a percentage of people that don't care about dogs or cats and have some other pet or choice, or don't prefer any pet. But, I mean, you're not going to get everybody. Here's another article from PC Gamer that's an advertisement, I think, for an older game. Unless Sword and Sorcery EP is new. It's an iOS game, so I guess it doesn't matter. It's a PC game, but it's a port of an iOS game. So I don't know. With PC Gamer, they have so many shady, underhanded deals that are going on behind the scenes that I don't know if I just read an advertisement that they were paid to do underground viral marketing for, or if I read an actual article. Blizzard will have no Diablo 3 announcements at BlizzCon, but things are happening. Let's see, BlizzCon runs over the weekend of November 3rd to 4th. Tickets to the event are sold out, but all access virtual tickets are available for $40 each, which is ridiculous. I'd have to make a lot of money on this channel to spend $40 just to get a virtual ticket to something that I could try to stream and probably just get copyright claimed over. Let's see that. What do I think is really going to get announced at BlizzCon? Overwatch stuff. New events for Overwatch. New events for Heroes of the Storm. New events for Hearthstone, maybe. And some more pushing of the remastered of StarCraft. If they were to do anything else, they might do some World of Warcraft announcements, like a new season of World of Warcraft, and that's kind of it. Like, I'm not expecting anything great or big. I don't think Blizzard's going to announce a new game. Maybe if they remastered the original Warcraft instead of World of Warcraft, that'd be cool. Maybe if they did some legacy servers for World of Warcraft, that would be interesting. It would explain why they've shut down so many of the other legacy servers. But yeah, I don't think there's anything big happening at BlizzCon this year. Kofi came on the chat saying, hey Kofi. Do I want to see more things specifically with Diablo 3? Not really. Just move on to Diablo 4. Blizzard could do to speed up its development cycle a little bit and have at least one new game come out every couple of years. And if they're always going to be new and unique games, that's fine too, but wouldn't be terrible for them to remaster, remake, or continue other series. Particularly, I think I want a remaster, remake of Warcraft 1. I think that would probably not sell amazingly great, but it would bring more people back to the Warcraft series. Let's see. What's this? A 2D brawler called Flynn, Son of Crimson. Looks wonderful in motion. Is the title of this article. Seems like a beat-em-up brawler where you're fighting people with an axe, fighting wolves and monsters with this big red axe. Is there any actual details in this article about when this game is coming out or what platforms? Oh no, it's a Kickstarter game, so it's never going to come out at all. Thank you. Thank you, PC Gamer, for wasting my time. Let's see. Play. Kofi says, I built a new Hearthstone deck on Europe. We can play. Alright. Let me finish this game and I'll switch over to the European account. Let's see. Here's an article I don't want to read, so I'll close this. The title itself is insulting. Avoiding the avoidable, why optional queer content isn't solving the diversity and how to fix this. And so, on the face of it, as I'm closing this article, because clearly, in my opinion, this is probably going to be rather toxic ridiculousness. If I'm going to start using that horrible phrase toxic, which should be banned. Banned for use by everybody. Optional content for everybody is really all you can do. Like, when a game forces you to play as a male character, that's sometimes storyline related and it makes sense. Like, if you're playing as Nathan Drake, a female Nathan Drake option isn't potentially gonna be helpful in the story. But then again, maybe it doesn't really matter. If there was a female Nathan Drake, Nancy Drake running around in any of the Uncharted games, it probably wouldn't change too much. Like, maybe one line or two would have to be changed. And so in the same way, if you want to add a character that is non-gender specific as an option when picking your characters, honestly, I would just say if you have a character select screen, let them do everything. I recently played a game called Vertiginous Golf, where you could play as a male or female character, but then there was multiple sections to change, like hair, face, arm, shirt, pants, things like that. And then there's a beard section. And so I'm playing as a female character, as I often do, and I go to the beard section and it says no beards. And I'm like, why did you bother to program it like that? If somebody wants to be silly and give a female a beard, you should be able to do it. But all you can do to solve this problem is give more people options. Just let the player do whatever they want to do. If they want to, locking out any content anywhere is ridiculous. I don't think there's any country that particularly matters as far as video games, which is to say a country that sells a lot of video games or even allows video games. I don't think there's a country in the world from that global perspective that would ban a game or increase its rating if it allowed the players to choose female clothing on a male or male clothing on a female. All the countries that would have concerns about that already have concerns with other issues in video games and either highly regulate or ban. Now, when you're talking character select, like, a lot of it doesn't really matter anyways. Like, you could, in almost any game, just with a little bit of imagination, assume any character you're playing in is transgendered or asexual or whatever, because if you select a male body type or a female body type, that doesn't get into those deeper issues of what they feel like or how they express themselves or anything like that. So again, this is I've gotten on the rant. I'm trying to get away from rants, but like, this is really pushing the video game audience to kowtow and give reverence to a very small minority of people, in particularly the transgendered community, when in all honesty they have bigger fish to fry and should focus on other things. Like, I wonder if it isn't that people keep pushing these social justice and virtue signaling issues in video games because video game players and kids, which are a lot of which are the video game playing community, are the only people who will put up with it, or that they think they can get away with bullying. Because it really is just getting down to the bullying. The whole article there is really just telling other video game creators that they need to change their artistic creation. And that's, at the core of it, wrong. I don't know what my daily quests were, so I'm just going to take Custom Shaman 3 and see what happens. I really, that whole rant was kind of a waste of time. I really could have just said the creators of any game have the right to do whatever they want in their artistic creation. If they want to write a game where you have to play as a beer drinking, red, white, and blue flag waving redneck American, that should be their right. If they want to make the player play as a transgendered asexual, queer, cross-dressing person, and that should be that creator's right too. And there is no diversity problem in video game characters because this is art and not real people. That's just it. They're not real people. So we're looking at Destroyer's deck here, so I'm gonna mostly just try to play neutrally here and not do anything to ruin it. He's playing a Pirate Druid deck, and I think Pirate Druids still survive, but the other Druids have now kind of suffered. So we're gonna see less Druids, is what I've heard, in ranked play. Of course, I'm particularly gonna see less of everything in ranked play at this rate because I'm not gonna waste more time on it. Let's see. The composer Go Shina, S-H-I-I-N-A, Shina, has left Bandai Namco. He's known for God Eater, Tales, Taken, and more. What's interesting about this, more than anything else, is I've seen several stories of people being fired or quitting their job in Japan, which is not something culturally they do. At least it wasn't something culturally they did before. So it feels like there might be a new generation of people willing to leave their jobs and go somewhere else and start their own businesses and do different things, which might be very good for the Japanese economy and might be horrible because so much of the Japanese economy is built around being a salaryman and working for a company for the rest of your life. That people who quit very possibly might have trouble getting another job. There might be so much of a social stigma. Even in the United States, there's a huge social stigma for trying to get that next job if you quit the last job. People don't want people to quit. They would much prefer that you be laid off, and that way they know that you'll stay and work for the new company as long as they want you to work there. And in any interview or anything like that, if you've quit a job, they're going to ask you, why did you quit that job? And then you've got to tell this horrible story that won't apply to the next job. So you basically have to say, my last boss was sleeping with my wife. Or something like that. It has to be something ridiculous and not connected to potentially something that the current job might do. So if you say they gave me too many hours, they were mean to me, they didn't pay me on time, all of those things are things that happen all the time in the United States for jobs. So that potentially would eliminate you from getting a new position. But then again, if your new job is already thinking about abusing you, it's probably not a place you want to work at in the first place. But also it is worth pointing out that these are just creative people in Japan are moving jobs. I'm sure the average salary man, the average paper pusher in Japan is still very much getting a job for life and keeping it. But maybe that will change. A lot of things will change. Shinzo, the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, dissolved the lower cabinet early, so in an effort to solidify his re-election later this year. He wanted to have a election now to get more people that will support his election later. Kevin Wu says, did you already go on North America? I was on North America, and then Kofi had a new deck he wanted to show off, so I jumped over prematurely to the European account, and that's why I'm on the European account now. I spoke earlier about the Super NES Mini, and apparently somebody is trying to make a Commodore 64 Mini, which is kind of ridiculous because the Commodore 64 in default is a keyboard and a personal computer that you can attach a joystick to. The Commodore 64, however, did have a decent number of games if you have any nostalgia for it. It's going to come out in 2018 and be worth £70, which even with the value of the pound going down, that's still probably close to $100. Let's see, can I Google how much £70 would be in US dollars right now? 93.78 cents right now, just by right clicking and Googling it after highlighting it. So you're gonna have some major nostalgia for the Commodore 64 to want to buy that one. Just full health taunt. Another one of these. And then end the turn. The next Pac-Man will be skipping the arcade, according to... Let's see, Kevin Wu says, well, can I play you on North America? Sure. Well, I'll jump back and forth. If that's what it takes. We can do that after this game. There is something I'm gonna have to figure out, if maybe you can have 3 versions of Hearthstone running at the same time. You probably can't, just for security reasons. But that is something I'm gonna have to consider, because going back and forth, or either I figure out if you can do that quickly without having to exit and relaunch the program, which you probably do have to exit and relaunch the program, or I'm gonna have to, when I get much bigger, I'm gonna have to establish like rules to say this hour is gonna be in North America, next hour will be in Europe, and things like that. But that stuff, honestly, I'll deal with when it happens. And if I become big. Speaking of becoming big, I had this thought, and it's a stupid thought in general, but I was thinking about doing it anyways. My biggest YouTube video by far is how to set up Hearthstone and use OBS, with 80,000 views. And it's rather old. So I was thinking of putting a lot of ads in that video to try to just displease people from wanting to watch it, and in a stupid way, by displeasing people from watching that video, they might want to watch the other videos. I mean, literally, this argument makes no sense.
I'm almost out of cards.
But that was what I was thinking about doing, and I may do it, but I am gonna wait until I hit 100,000 views to do something like that. and that way people will stop watching the old video and start watching the newer ones. And if people continue to still watch the old video, at the very least I'll get more ad revenue from it. And I was just gonna do really obnoxious amounts of ads in it, like 1 every 5 minutes. Let's see, this article was the next Pac-Man game is skipping the arcade and heading to the casinos. So basically, Pac-Man Battle Casino is a upcoming gambling machine with the developer and manufactured by Gambit through a partnership of Bandai Namco. So is Bandai Namco potentially getting out of the actual video game market, and they are only now going to try to make money through selling gambling machines? Let's see. Well, I played 4 elementals. That was one of the things I needed to do. And the other thing I needed was a victory with Rogue Warrior. But I don't even have a 3rd daily quest, so I've gotten off on that anyways. Let's switch back to America. And I need to split up the video. So, yeah. Hopefully this is not a sign to come, and we don't see all the Bandai games completely abandoned. Not like Bandai Games has really been doing anything great lately anyways, but if they're gonna completely drop it and not use and do nothing and just become like Konami is, then I don't think very many people are going to be too happy with that. Let's see. Let's try my pirate druid. I think we already tried this, but whatever. Oh, and I needed to end the recording too, and I forgot. And it's hard to stay on top of all this, even though I have an alarm right in front of my face telling me you're 18 minutes over.
Protect the wild.
Let's see, Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment. Where is that? Where's this museum? I haven't heard of this one. Shortened to MADE. M-A-D-E. Oakland, California. So, trying to avoid another rant here, which I'm trying. Kofi said, getting late. Gotta go. Okay, thanks. Must be a lot later where he is than where I am. It's 4:30 in the afternoon in Central US time. So, the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment is this Oakland, California museum that is kind of, I think, a video game museum, but I mean, they're not even, like, I'm not even seeing any pictures of anything that they have. This is not the National Video Game Museum in Frisco, Texas, which honestly, well, I can tell you right now, they're stealing copyrighted image for their background arts. And they're doing this game jam, Being an Ally, which in partnership with the Anti-Defamation League. Again, Being an Ally is it's a little debatable often what that means and what is expected of you to be considered an ally, and are you ever going to be good enough? And the answer is probably no, because people that use phrases like ally never stop pushing. Well, clearly they're stealing. They have pictures of Pokemon back here too. I've never heard of this museum. I've never heard of this museum. And I don't think there's going to be 2 video game museums out there. And their website seems incredibly small. Like, sure, there will be 2. I guess I need to rephrase that. There will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 video game museums out there, but the big one is the 10,000 square feet National Video Game Museum that is just starting to get big. It still has a long way to go. And there are certainly arcades that have more arcade games out there and take up more square footage. However, I think I've found one picture of this Made Museum, as their blog is talking about having Sonic Mania, and it looks like a basement with just a moderate collection of things on the wall. Like, it would be a decent home video game collection, certainly. But but it's not good enough right now. Like, so let's look at its staff and board. How many people are working on this museum? Like, I knew there was a group of people that were that Jeff Grossman of Giant Bomb was talking about making a museum out of their collections. So maybe this is the group of people. There's 20 people here. Chris Wolf is the curator. There's an education director, operations director, creative director, director of IT, volunteer coordinator, staff general manager, event coordinator. So it seems like more people than you would normally have to start off with. But then again, being in Oakland, California, giving people titles and then not really paying them. There's a board of directors. Let's see. Alex Handy, his work has appeared in Wired, East Bay Express, Business Week, and Software Business Times. Let's see.
Time waits for no one.
Here we go. Dana R. Wagner, second board of director, has worked on the FTC's and European and Commission's conduct investigation of Google. So her thing to be happy and fast and promote herself with is the fact that she managed to sue Google. Wow. Let's see. Gotta play more of these 5+ cards to get the daily quest done. Who's the next person on the list? Don Kellogg. Probably part of the Kellogg's fortune. He's part of The Economist, New York Times. His research has appeared in The Economist, New York Times, International Business, Harvard Business Review. His favorite game is Morrowind. Don Scott is a game developer and family member. and founding member of KIXEYE, which I have no idea what that is. Let's see. Anna Wright is mostly known as a designer and executive assistant to, hey, free win when I didn't need it, to her husband Will Wright. So is this Will? No, that's Will Wheaton. Who's Will Wright?
Malfurion versus Rexar.
She's from Russia after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Interesting story. The Made Museum is comprised of 3 different boards. An advisory board is made up of video game historians, journalists, and experts. So this is like a journalist-run museum on that board. The artist advisory board is comprised of people who create games and are familiar with the process. So not only is it a journalist-run museum, it is a video game developer-run museum. And what is the third board? The Education Advisory Board is experts from games, learning, and education. So the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment. I don't think it's a museum worth existing. Last thing I want is a video game museum that is going to try to rewrite history by being run by mainstream video game journalists and their designers. Every little thing, every little controversy will just be missed and not mentioned, and that's not really preserving history. You have to keep the good and the bad, and I don't think Made's gonna do that. And look at that, I actually was able to talk about something in this article without getting into much of a rant there. Man, I am ranty. Red Phoenix is online and says hi. That was probably a mistake.
Job's done.
Yep. Always gotta watch out for that explosive trap. But yeah, stick by it. If you want a video game museum to visit, if you want a video game museum to support, I think the National Video Game Museum in Frisco, Texas is the one. Let me know in the comments or the chat if you know of any other museum that's more developed and makes more sense. But honestly, having one that is literally being run by journalists and the creators of the games, like, you're gonna have people in that museum that are gonna try to make arguments like Aliens Colonial Marines was a great game and it sold well, or more recently Battleborn was a great game and it sold well. I mean, that you're gonna have the 7 out of 10ification of all games turned into museum form. Like, nothing bad will ever be said about anything. For instance, recently I talked about, earlier in this stream, I talked about how Nintendo really established itself by stealing the idea of King Kong to make Donkey Kong. And in the Made Museum, that would never be mentioned, I bet. And hopefully it would be something that would be at least known and mentioned in appropriate times in the National Video Game Museum. Like, imagine if people didn't talk about why Night Trap was so important, where Night Trap had a congressional hearing about it, and was a part of a video game scare of video games being too violent. If none of that was mentioned and people just said, this is Night Trap, it was a great game, history would definitely be lost. Red Phoenix says, but your rants are the best. Yay, the rant. Man, you're gonna get... Don't ask for the rants, they'll only get worse. Moving on with the news, Dragon Crown's Pro first 4K shot. So, Dragon's Crown Pro for the PS4 has 4K resolutions, which will be interesting. Dragon's Crown is a unique game in the fact that it probably benefits very well under higher resolutions because of its darker, flat animation style with, I would say, it's rather unique characters too. Like, it's got this fantasy, kind of like barbarian-esque characters. The artist clearly has a thing for big-chested women and dragons, and it's actually quite unique because nowadays everything 95% of all animated things in Japan are going for that chibi animation style with underaged, underdeveloped looking characters, where this is more older, mature characters. People started chatting, so Nightbot started working. I'm glad for that. There's a visual horror novel called Okurinu for the Switch, written by Takuya Iijima, if you know who that is, or if I pronounced that name right at all.
Your magic shall not save you.
5 to enemy. I suppose this is the beginning of the end for the PS Vita, when the Switch is going to start having an eShop releases in Japan of visual novels. You're going to start to see the end of any visual novels coming out for the Vita. We'll just slowly see the development wrap up, and who knows how long it really takes to make a visual novel game. They're really long, but they may actually not take that much time to create. Let's do this. So, yeah, I guess for me that won't really change much. I'll just start saying, hey, there's a new Japanese visual novel on the Switch, and the Vita will go out. Red Phoenix, have you seen the movie It? Not the new one. I think I may have seen most of the old one. But oddly, I like to watch the reviews for movies that I don't even bother to see. So I am up on it. And for the reviews I've seen of it, the people who like it really like it, and it's now like the most grossing movie in the United States, so it's succeeded very much. But I think there is a small minority of people that are not happy with it. However, even the people that are unhappy with it, don't tell me that, Red Phoenix. Don't tell me that I've lost a subscriber. Whatever. I don't want that bad news on my doorstep. subscribers will come and go, so what? Like, I've lost, in all honesty, I've lost chat people a lot more. Loki was chatting for a week or two. Loki hasn't done anything on Hearthstone. Like, he's still friendly with me, but he's over there playing Warcraft. I think a lot of it has to do with people just not wanting to play Hearthstone. But yeah, people come, people go. Yeah, the small number of people I've heard that don't like it, kind of don't like it just because they don't like the story. So they didn't like the incredibly long book. They saw it as it's just one of many of the Stephen King stories, and it's this epic, super long, like 700 pages, 900 pages long book. It's got some real ridiculousness to it. It could have easily been cut into 2 or 3 stories or a mini-series even. Honestly, it as a story is written rather poorly, because you could have had a story about just one kid each and gone 100 pages, and then retold the same events from the perspective of another kid and done that for 2 or 3 books. And that's kind of what a Japanese manga author would do. He would tell the exact same story and events from 5 different characters' perspectives. The complaints I've heard about it from the people that do want to complain about it, which is really the only thing that interests me, because if people are just going to review it and say it was great and that they loved it, that's not really adding anything, because when people are being happy about something, they don't give details, whereas if people are cynical and complain about it, they're going to give more explanation. Their main complaint is that a major part of it is they shouldn't have bothered to do Tim Curry, a movie that was made famous by Tim Curry. The clown could have easily been not a clown at all, and the way they did the clown is what people are complaining about. It's not a funny clown. The clown in it is supposed to intrigue and entice kids to come close to him, and it's not doing that in this movie. From what I heard, it's always scary. It would always convince the kids to get further away from him, which doesn't help the main bad guy, who's, I think, eating the kids. So it doesn't really make sense there. They say there's a lot more jump scares, and some people don't like the horror in that, but I think the general audience do like it and all of that. They've already announced that they're gonna do a sequel and do the second half of the book when the kids come back and as adults, and so there's some of that. There's complaints about some of the kids, when compared to the same kids in the book, have no real reason to be in the story, that a lot of editing could have been done to reduce the number of kids. It's set in the 80s, which kind of hurts it when the original story was set in the 40s. Red Phoenix says, you're right. We shouldn't ask for rants because I have no clue what you're talking about. I'm talking about the movie Yet. Well, just to wrap up there, I suppose that I really need to wrap up this recording too. If you are a general fan of most movies and you like most movies, you will like going to see it and probably enjoy it, unless you just hate horror movies. And if you're a fan of seeing movies that you're going to complain about, you'll probably still enjoy watching it once to complain about it. So they've gotten two marketed audiences there. Me personally, I don't think I'd ever sit through it. Maybe if it comes to Netflix, I'll fast forward through it, but maybe not. Let's see. Moving back to video game news, which is what I'm focused on. The Xbox Live indie games gets a stay of execution in the sense that they've delayed the shutdown of the indie games program until next month, which doesn't really probably change much of anything. In a funny way, I guess the Xbox Live indie games program could be used as an argument to say what to yet again yell at Valve and tell them that Steam Direct and Steam Greenlight were bad ideas. But that's I mean, they've been handled differently enough that I don't think you could make it much of a valid point there. Redfink says, go on a rant about YouTube. Those are always fun. YouTube's not done anything terrible this week that I've heard of. So there's no rant in me. I can certainly complain about just the adpocalypse and things like that. But they would just be old things that have already been said. Content ID people claiming copyright and then waiting 30 days and then denying the disputes. Still happening. But nothing terrible. They've managed to keep their head down for the past couple of weeks. Let's see. We do this, 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 in the turn. Let's see. The code realize Shirogane no Kiseki is a visual novel launching December 21st in Japan. And it is on the PS4 and Vita. Let's look at its opening trailer. I've gotten into watching the opening trailers on video games now, just to be certain I know what they are about, or at least maybe have a better idea about what they're about. Okay, go ahead and kill that. Let's see. Red Phoenix says, I have seen ads for YouTube on YouTube. Have you seen ads for YouTube, or have you seen ads for their phone service where you make calls like Skype and Discord? Because that's what I've been seeing. But again, that's not something I can really complain about, because what that means is that instead of no ads running on my channel and other YouTubers' channel, they have gotten Google, their parent company, to pay YouTubers to put videos on to put ads on their videos. So while it would certainly suck if every single ad on YouTube was just promoting a Google product of some kind, in the end, the two options are, do you want to get any ad revenue during this adpocalypse where other people aren't selling ads? Because house ads, as they're called, are used when you don't sell enough of the other kind of regular ads. And clearly this is what they're doing is selling out house ads or filling up slots with house ads, which is something they didn't do before. And they have a vested interest in having at least a certain number of ads on YouTube in general, so that YouTube Red makes sense and is and people are irritated into buying YouTube Red and feel like they're actually getting something for not seeing ads. If there's literally no ads on YouTube at all, then people that are paying that extra money for YouTube Red are going to effectively be ripped off because they're not really getting the service in. Let's see, the Wii Shop channel is ending service January 31st, 2019. So a year and a couple of months from now, the Wii Shop channel is going away. So that means re-downloads to remain, but will shut down in the future. So you need to, if you have any games from the Wii Shop, you need to download them and back them up. And probably at this point you need to hack your Wii and legally back up all of your games, because there's support for the Wii is going away quickly. The Me channel with the little avatars has already been announced to be shut down. So, like, anything that touches the online part at all on the Wii is going to stop working. Let's see. Do this.
It begins. Fight and rot. Job done.
Two companies, DMM Games and Level 5, announced a game called Little Battlers Experience-based Armored Girls for PC, iOS, and Android. And it seems to be girls with exoskeleton robot suits is the idea of this game. Not quite a, like, they're not in mechs where all of their body would be covered in armor. They're instead in suits that have metallic parts attached. And they're fighting some kind of monsters or something. Yeah, I bet this isn't a very popular series when all's said and done, though, because they wouldn't be putting it out on PC and cell phones if it was a bigger deal. Alright, it's time to wrap up this since we're already 50 minutes over. Wrap up this recording. I need to play 5 more cards with 5 minions and 50 shaman cards, so I'll need to make a shaman deck too. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another live stream of Hearthstone. We need to get 5 minions that cost 5 or more and play 50 shaman cards. Maybe I can make a deck that will combine all of that. If I come over here, take a shaman deck, wild, make a custom deck, come over here, and pick 5 minions that cost 5 or more. And I guess maybe Bloodlust is more important than ever. That'll fill up 15 of our cards. And then I'll start the other way on this side with the zeros and fill up with the cheapest number of cards. So this is going to be an anti-mid-game deck. It will have cards for about 15 cards for the beginning of the game and about 15 cards for the end of the game, with no real thought to any kind of real synergy or anything like that. And start playing that. I've still got a ton of pages as far as news. Today, this Friday, we're a little laid back this Friday. I wasn't feeling good to begin with. So we're slowly making progress. Red Phoenix is on the chat. Yes, I need trivia questions for a thing to do. You got any? The question of trivial knowledge. No knowledge is truly trivial, but when making trivia questions, you want it to be general, and there is less and less of a general common knowledge. There's actually no such thing as common knowledge in reality. So, while if you were making like a video game trivia knowledge thing, common knowledge would probably be that that Nintendo made Donkey Kong. Like, that's something everybody should know. Everybody should know that Nintendo made Super Mario Bros. And that Sega made Sonic, and that PlayStation made Crash Bandicoot and tried that to be its mascot, and Microsoft really didn't have a mascot at all other than Master Chief, which is, I guess, the unofficial mascot. On the other hand, you can go for extremely uncommon knowledge, like who is the name of the creator who created the Linux kernel and started Linux as a movement and as a software package. His name is Linus Torvalds, or Torvalds, maybe I'm mispronouncing it. And why is the penguin the unofficial mascot for Linux? Because a penguin actually attacked him when he was scuba diving. That's some trivia. Like, Red Phoenix, I'm looking for very hard trivia, like, what are the two dogs' names in Toy Story? Isn't one of the dogs' name like Slinky or Slick or something? That's not particularly hard knowledge. What is the atomic weight to the 51st decimal of plutonium? Would be hard knowledge. Or what's pi to the 1000th decimal? Like, you can make things particularly specific. Here's the short, easy answer for trivia. Go buy I don't know if they have this or not, but a regular game of Trivial Pursuit, or here, my chat's messed up. Darn it. A regular game of Trivial Pursuit or anything above that, and Google trivia sites, and just steal. Like, the thing is, as long as you are writing a short one sentence and you rephrase it, nobody can really claim that you're plagiarizing things that are facts. You know what you really could do is you could just go on Wikipedia and click random page, random page, random page. Get that first paragraph. Read the first paragraph that summarizes everything in a random page in a Wikipedia article, and that would also give you. Yeah, I'm talking about Andy and Sid's dogs' names. So not the dog, the Slinky. That you would want to, in any trivia question game, try to be as clear as anything is there. With Google, though, you can probably find out the name rather easily. Let's see. I'm gonna just Google it. Andy and Sid's dogs' names. Let's see. Scud is the name of Sid's dog, apparently. And Buster is the name of Andy's, according to YouTube. So that's the answer to those questions. Now I gotta get back to the chat, and I'm distracting myself when I should be playing YouTube and Hearthstone. Like, you really have the benefit of when somebody makes Trivial Pursuit, like Hasbro, they have at least 5 to 20 interns that look through all of that and make hundreds of questions that you can just totally lift. Totally lift. And nobody can really do anything about it. Because as long as it's a fact and it's true, unless you're stealing, not rephrasing things, you're just stating a fact. I mean, so yeah, I'd say that on trivia. I don't have that much trivial knowledge, and it would be what I generally like to do is I like to have enough to have one conversation, one rant, one story about something. So if somebody started a conversation in real life with me about that thing, I can either talk about that thing for one conversation, or I can pivot that conversation, which is most often what I end up doing is I'll pivot a conversation into something else that that I know more about. So if somebody started talking to me about dressmaking, I would say, well, I don't know anything about that, but I know about video game making, and that would be a terrible pivot, but that's just kind of how conversations happen, is you pivot, you keep it going. You know somebody's bad at having a conversation if they just say, I don't know anything about that, or I'm not interested in that, or if they're just being quiet and smiling and nodding or ignoring you completely. That's great indication that they don't want to talk to you at all. Let's see. 1-1 with taunt.
Come out to play.
Be cool, man.
Let's see, moving back to video game news. Yeah, I'm a news reporter, by the way. Like, I'm just reporting news that other people are saying. And part of the reason why I'm reporting the news is because I don't have a lot to say and I don't have a lot of trivia in my own head. So, but I don't need it to talk about what video games are coming up. Let's see, is this really news that I'm looking at? No, I don't think it is. This is just pretty much an advertisement for Danganronpa 3. Let's see. Football Manager 2018 will feature a new graphics engine, better AI, and dynamics, whatever that means. Quote-unquote dynamics. Number of changes are on the way. So, this is like a TV interview, or a fake TV interview for Football Manager. So if I summon one of these, and then do this, I should have done this first, actually.
Be cool, man.
So, Football Manager, of course, is a soccer game. Yeah, worldwide football. Let's see. Red Phoenix says, what colors do you see the dress as? Blue or black or white and gold? You know, I don't remember. I think I originally saw it as blue and black, and then after a while, the second time I looked at it, it was black or gold. Inherently, I resolved to just say that the truth of the matter is the photo of that dress is horribly blown out and just something that should have been thrown away, and that's all there really is to say about it. Like, it's more interesting as an example of terrible photography than it is as an argument between whether you see it one way or other way. I have particularly come to the belief that a lot of people are seeing colors differently than other people, and there really is no consistency in colors. I often will have people will look at something orange and say it's brown, or they'll say it's red when I see a crimson or deep purple. I often say in video games, I know I'm not colorblind, but there's so many different other kinds of colorblindness that just go undiagnosed that that is weird. Oddly, genetic colorblindness is on the Y chromosome, so theoretically women are not supposed to be able to be colorblind, but if for other reasons such as actual damage to the eye, it can happen. And I actually do know a woman who is slightly colorblind and thinks there's a phrase I like to use, I used to use, I guess, called color dumb, where people don't know the names of colors, and I don't mean like they don't know the 25 million different names of different shades of colors, but they're literally say like orange is brown, and I'll look at it and I'm like, that is a deep chocolate brown, not orange. So disagreements like that are probably going to become more apparent as people are more communicative and can communicate visually.
Do not push me.
Now, right now I'm trying to play cards for Shaman and 5 mana cards, so I don't know if I played 5 mana cards. We did, and I've needed to play several other Shaman class cards, but it would probably be cheaper and easier to redo my Shaman deck right now. Let's see. So let's, even though we just made the Shaman deck, it'll be quicker and easier to make a cheap Shaman deck. And they haven't gotten the copy and paste down to the point where it makes complete sense to have these saved, like, because going over to Hearthstone Deck Tracker and trying to load in a file and moving everything is a pain. Let's see. The Phoenix says, I wonder which color the dress actually is, and brown is a shade of orange. Or is orange a shade of brown? There's so much ridiculousness. We should get down to the actual just light frequency of all colors on the light wavelength spectrum. So we say that we should just say red is 900 hertz and blue is 1300 hertz or whatever. I'm making up those numbers, but just get down to that level of detail. I think the dress originally was gold and white because a blue and black dress or blue and brown dress just wouldn't have made as much sense in that particular picture. And it was the fact that there was an amazing amount of brightness and overblownness in the background that made it look dark to our eyes. So Dead Rising 4, getting back to video game news, actually is adding photography challenges and some other fan requested things that I had already talked about. I knew I'd seen an article about that. Let's see. New games this week on Steam, nothing worth mentioning. Hob and Cuphead are both out, and it is worth, I think, mentioning that Cuphead is a very difficult game. It's kind of ridiculous because there were people that didn't know anything about video games that were trying to say Cuphead is for everybody, and no, it isn't. It is a very difficult game designed for people who are pretty good at shooters and difficult games and platforming. It is not as difficult as the video we've all seen of the one guy who shouldn't be in the industry. Also, there were people saying that guy should be in the industry, and you have no right to criticize him because he's been in the industry for like 20 years. There's plenty of people in the world that have had a job for 20 years and still suck at it, and he is one of them. Clearly, not only for this instance, there was a previous instance where he didn't ever realize you could level up in Mass Effect 2, so he rated the game very poorly because of that. Describe my favorite color without relating to another object or color. So, in other words, don't describe my favorite color at all. Like, you're effectively asking me to speak a language with no nouns. It can't be done. and I'm not gonna try. There was this article a couple weeks ago about how video game creators use trickery and deceptive practices to make the games better. And then there were people saying that they were upset about that and that they felt like they were lied to. If anybody really in a video as a video game player feels like they should be upset because a game lies to you, they need to take some perspective, because all of a video game is a lie, and therefore and that's pretty much all entertainment is. When you go to the movie, you're allowing the actors and the writers and the directors to lie to you and tell you a false story. You have to have a sense of suspend your disbelief to enjoy that. Now, in the instance of interactive media, it feels a little bit different when the game implies to you that you have 10 bars of life, but in actuality that last bar of life is worth 5 more bars of life. So you actually have 15, but it depicts it differently. Yeah, it's deceptive. It's trickery. It's trickery done in the name of making the game better. If the game is not good because of that, criticize it for that. If the game is good because of that, and you didn't know that was there, and you do know that it was there now, be happy. Be happy it worked and you had fun. Your whole life is a lie. If I were to throw out some other things, the problems you do in school, or you did when you were in school, weren't actually difficult problems. They were made so you could pass the class and learn some small amount of things. Like you graduating from kindergarten wasn't a big achievement, even though during the time in kindergarten they probably told you it was. But I honestly don't know if very many people were really complaining about that at all anyways, and if that wasn't just a few trolls or just unimportant opinions. Like, people think that like commenters just on random sites immediately makes their opinions important, and that's just not the case. Like I don't want to sound cruel about it, but it really isn't the case. There's so many people that just troll in comments. There's so many people that are just maybe 12-year-olds that, you know, think back to when you were a 12-year-old, when you were probably spouting a bunch of garbage that you regret saying now anyways. The people just working out those issues. Let's see. Give +1/1 to each of your totems. For a second there, I thought I was seeing a visual glitch. Alright, kill this guy then. So yeah, making a big deal because some people feel like they've been lied to because you revealed that you were lying to them in a video game, which obviously everybody else knows. It's like kayfabe in wrestling. Like, if you're going to be a mature adult and enjoy wrestling, you're going to have to do that on the understanding and knowledge that kayfabe exists and that all the wrestlers are actually friends in the back and they just pretend to hate each other, and while the moves are mostly legitimate, there are rehearsals for specific moves, and they know who's going to win and who's going to lose before. So you just have to understand that. See, Red Phoenix says, try to imagine a new color. You can't really imagine a new color. And even if you could, you can't contextualize it to anything. It's like, I would like to see an infrared. What would it really look like to me? To a human eye? Right now it looks like nothing because you can't see an infrared. But it would be bright. Some bright thing brighter than the brightest white is infrared. And if you were going to go below the visual spectrum, you're getting into radio waves, and then the human brain would need, the human eyes would need to be bigger to see the actual wavelengths, and it would be, it would not really be interesting to look at, honestly. James Anderson asks, is this live? It is. You wrote that at 5:35 Central Time in the United States. I responded to it. Yes, it's live. Man, if I could only get away with pre-recording conversations with the chat, then I would do so much. I would pre-record so much more of this and see if it works. Infrared is below the visual spectrum. That's why it's called infrared. You're right. I was wrong. I realized that about 5 seconds after I said it. Excuse me. I guess my audio sounds fine. I've been messing with the sounds, but the settings, but nobody's complained about the audio mix in the game or my voice. So yeah, Cuphead. Cuphead is out there. I think I might at some point in the distant future, when I can afford it, play that game and pre-record it. I think there's enough challenge there, and on the simple mode, I could have some fun on that. There was something else. That Hob came out, and Hob, to me, when it first was being advertised, looked like it was going to be a failure, but despite having some slight problems, it actually seems to be a decent game worth playing, so I want to play that one too, which is kind of interesting because that means that there are now 2 games that have come out here at the end of September. I think we're officially into good game season for the end of the year, and we're going to start seeing on a weekly basis, or at least every couple of weeks, at least one good game coming out. James Anderson says, I want to give a shout out to my doggo Muggy. Okay. And it wouldn't be bright to be a different color. It means it would hurt your eyes because more energy. But I don't think it would be bright. Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. I have a ultraviolet bug light that if I look at it, it hurts my eyes, and that's where I was thinking that it would be bright. And if you get ultraviolet radiation, it will hurt your eyes, because that was what they were saying on the
That didn't quite hit the mark.
The eclipse, is that if you weren't careful and took off the glasses too early, it may not seem that bright, but the ultraviolet radiation would still be going into your eyes and damaging it. Is this real news? There's apparently a Japanese fashion company that is making clothing to look like the Persona 5 characters. A real-life Anne's hoodie and Futaba's jacket supervised by Shingori Sojimi, which I imagine is the art director. I mean, at that point, is this just custom cosplay that they're selling? And that's kind of how they're selling it. Interesting. The jacket says AFK on the back, away from keyboard, I assume is what that means. Cost 19,800 yen. So almost $200 for this jacket. Or roughly the equivalent of that. I don't know if that really is video game news. James Anderson, is it okay if I watch this in the nude? Whatever you do in your house is fine, but if you start talking ridiculousness and break the rules on the chat, I'll kick you out. So you can do whatever you want in your house or wherever you are, assuming you're not out in public. But don't bring it into my stream. Moving on, Assassin's Creed Origins from Sand trailer. So, another Assassin's Creed Origins game is coming out for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC on October 27th. I'm a little surprised about that, honestly, because I thought they were going to specifically focus on just I thought they were going to specifically just focus on Assassin's Creed Origins alone. Like, so is this not one of those mini games? No, this is the next Assassin's Creed game. It's called Origins. So what was the name of the other Assassin's Creed games that were the small independent things? Were they called Origins too? No, they couldn't have been. So this is just another trailer for that game. So this really isn't news at all. They just made a new trailer to advertise it. Now I know that Assassin's Creed specifically says that they're gonna add a new educational mode to the game, which seems like a waste of your effort. Like, because then they're trying to sell it to like a school, and I don't think that's ever gonna play. Like, I don't buy that that's gonna work. Just evolve these guys. Red Phoenix on the chat says, James, that's kind of weird, no offense. Like, yeah, well, whatever. I mean, I don't care. I don't care if people are more comfortable. The concept of nudist or people preferring nudity, it doesn't bother me at all. Personally, I think there's way too much of a hang-up on nudity, and I don't think it's a big issue if somebody wanted to walk around naked on a beach, or if they wanted to walk around naked just kind of generally anywhere in public. Certainly there's a lot of people that say think of the children and all of that, but in comparison to all the other mammals in the zoo, they're all naked all the time. We have dogs that are running around naked, cats that are running around naked, bonobos and other kinds of great apes and monkeys running around naked. Humans really aren't that different, and the fact that the human species is so obsessed with hiding their genitalia really hurts the mentality of the human race a lot, because everybody thinks then their genitalia is so offensively different and odd, and they don't realize that there actually is a great menagerie of variety out there that is being unseen. It's as if you've never seen all the colors of the rainbow. You've only seen black and white, and a society was only was built around you only seeing black and white. There's variety there. It's interesting. Biology always interested me. So yeah, nudity doesn't bother me. Red Pink says it's not that you are naked, it's that you asked. Yeah, I imagine he's just being silly, really. Like, people come on the chat, they try to be silly, they try to troll, everybody comes to the chat for a slightly different reason, and some of it I allow and some of it I don't. Moving on with video game news, FIFA 18 suffers from PC launch problems. EA provides a fix. EA will try again and should be available to download now. This is Electronic Arts we're speaking of, so I wouldn't trust them too well. I wouldn't really be buying too much from EA anyways. It's not like they have the license to so many games and they do basically nothing with it. And, I mean, EA is another one of these companies that would really help. It would be nice if they just went bankrupt and split apart, and people that actually wanted to make video games bought the assets from EA and broke it into different groups. These are stagnant companies that just want to put microtransactions and DLC in games and appease the shareholders. They're not part of any kind of community that actually wants to make good games and sell good products. So, yeah, boo EA like you would boo Konami and Ubisoft. In fact, almost all the big companies, if you recognize their name, they probably suck. Atlas sucks. Atlas recently tried to shut down and DMCA a PlayStation 3 emulator group for the reason that is so outlandish and ridiculous. They're saying because the PlayStation 3 emulator might be able to be played to play an Atlas game, it is infringing on our copyrights. And I'm like, no, not really. That's not what an emulator. There have even been court cases that I've heard of that prove this. You can't say that. Like it's not copyright infringement to make a program that runs another program. It's copyright infringement to copy the program that's copyrighted. Oh, at the very least, Sony would have grounds to shut down the emulator by saying you're infringing on some patent of ours or some code of ours to run PlayStation 3 games. But it's almost like the diesel, switching over to the European account, the diesel unleaded premium gas varieties that you get at a gas station. There was, I think, a time when car companies wanted to say you could only use gasoline from our gas stations, and Congress had to come in and say, no, you have to have a standard for unleaded, and all cars that are sold as unleaded have to be able to work and use all of that. And with the coming of electronic cars, Congress will almost certainly come back and say there has to be a standard power plug for all electric cars, and you have to be able to recharge at all of the electric car charging stations. Let's see. Paladin class cards, Rogue Warrior. Let's start the Tavern Brawl here with a Warrior. to begin with. Let's see, James Anderson says, the problem with games that sell off to another companies, they make it worse and goes worse, and it goes worse to the stock market. Usually that's true, but I would present the counter argument of THQ Nordic, because Toy Headquarters, the original THQ, drove that company into the ground. Had made a lot of games, most of them were garbage, and they overinvested in advertising and making a drawing tablet, which was the last thing they did. So they made some really bad decisions, THQ. THQ wasn't particularly known for always being the best quality games. They drove it into the ground. And then Nordic Games came out and they bought the licenses to a lot of the good games from THQ, and they're slowly changing their name from Nordic Games to THQ Nordic, which is what their name is now, and eventually they're just going to change it directly to THQ again. So that is an instance where we have actually very well benefited by a company that full of people that didn't know how to run a business going bankrupt. It's not always worse. It often is, but you can't be that risk averse. Sometimes you just got to roll the dice and see if you make something better, because you know right now the situation won't improve. I can guarantee you that EA is not going to get better in 10 years if it just stayed the way it is. Ubisoft is not going to get better in 10 years if it stayed the same way it is. Konami is not going to get better in 10 years the way it stays. So it would be much better to roll the dice and maybe have worse versions of EA and Konami, but we get a better Ubisoft. That would, instead of just leaving things there. I'd rather gamble. I have that gambling mentality.
I'm already attacked.
Let's see. James Anderson, I hope they make Bully 2. Well, I don't know if I even have any news article about it, but they did announce, Rockstar announced Red Dead Redemption 2 for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That is kind of big news, but we kind of also knew it was going to happen. So, like, okay. So, the fact that Rockstar did release anything is kind of encouraging, because I was rather under the feeling that they weren't going to release anything at all until they had just completely realized they couldn't get any more money out of Grand Theft Auto 5 online. But they are releasing Red Dead Redemption 2 on the consoles. However, they're not releasing it on PC, and they've never released Red Dead Redemption 1 on PC. Bully, I don't think, is the same office. It probably isn't one of the offices that still exists in Rockstar, because there's about 8 different Rockstar offices. For instance, the office that made LA Noire went out of business, and so now they're selling LA Noire on the Switch. But you really shouldn't take that as any indication that they'd make an LA Noire 2, because the people that made LA Noire 1 are long gone. I wouldn't be surprised if the people that made Bully are long gone. And it's hard to make the justification to make Bully 2, because Bully 1 was supposed to be a kids-friendly version of GTA, and it's still really not that kid-friendly. and so that gives you they really have no reason to make a bully game since it won't sell to kids. And if you really want to run an equivalency, bully is kind of up against Pokemon because Pokemon's not a completely open world, but neither was bully, and it's not. But I think that probably would be about the closest comparison of their competitor. And when you hold it against the latest Pokemon game, I don't think bully has appeal to the same age range. So I have some cards to disenchant. Wow, 1 common card to disenchant. 5 dust. That's pathetic. So now we need another Rogue or Warrior victory. But yes, there definitely is people that want it. I just don't think they're going to do it. I'm surprised they're even going to do Red Dead Redemption. And let's say that they are going to do a let's say that they are going to do a Bully 2. If they are going to make a Bully 2, and let's go ahead and assume that they've already been working on it for 4 years, I wouldn't be surprised if it was another 2 to 4 years before it came out. So, like, there's a lot of games that would be cool if they had a sequel, but they might as well just not tell you until they're ready or close to announce it. It doesn't really help anything to know a game is going to come out. You don't want something like Beyond Good and Evil 2, where that game has been announced and in development, or technically in development, but not really been worked on for years and years and years.
Greetings.
James Anderson says, "You've been busy? ? It's been a while since the stream."
Nature will rise against you. My thanks.
Since you stream. I've been rather busy. I'm pre-recording things for November, and what I'm doing is playing all the games that I've gotten for free, so it's a real frustrating thing of playing some really bad games that aren't even worth purchasing on Steam. And I've also decided since last stream that I'm going to start streaming specifically on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays now. So there will be more streams and more consistent streams. I still haven't gotten to the point where I can guarantee a time, but it's going to be sometime between like 1 in the afternoon Central Time and 7 in the evening Central Time. So sometime during the afternoon, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Otherwise, I've been better about being busy than I was before. I mostly took several weeks, not off per se, but I didn't work as much as I would have liked. And I'm still swamped in paperwork.
Where shall I strike?
Let's see. Getting back to news. I still haven't done all the news yet. And there's so much here for Friday. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know why there's so much news built up. Apparently, Oculus Rift and Gear VR offer refunds for apps and games now. That's something that should have been implemented at the beginning. Here's an article from Eurogamer saying that the Tokyo Game Show underwhelmed. I think the Tokyo Game Show in particular underwhelms always. It's not a big like consumer event. Just at the core of it, and I think when you realize that, it becomes a little bit more obvious why they're more business focused, even though that they may be talking about anime games. They're not going to have flashy anime on screen surrounding everybody. Let's see. WB apologizes for the Shadow of War Fort Hog confusion. I don't think there was really any confusion at all. Some of the like they're backpedaling, and they're saying that the tweet saying that none of the money going donated to that DLC for the developer who died of cancer, none of the money collected for purchasing that DLC outside of the United States was going to the family. And that's what the Twitter from the official account said, and now they're saying, oh, that was a mistake, and that wasn't true. And I think it's some BS there. I think they totally intentionally were planning on not giving any money. The whole thing's a mess. That DLC is now going to be free for everybody, and they're just going to donate it. And even in their apology for the quote-unquote confusion, they still left some confusion because they did not tell anybody how much they now plan to donate to the family instead, because they're not selling that software. So as little as a penny might be donated to the family. Meanwhile, this DLC is going out as a piece of advertisement. Like, Warner Brothers should have never stepped in this mess at all. If they wanted to make the free DLC for a Fallen programmer, that is fine, but that is as far as they should have gone. Honestly, you could have just put out a tweet saying, please help the family of our Fallen program. Here's their donation link to their site. We don't need we're not going to involve ourselves in it. There really should have just been an HR department somewhere that in WB that says this is not something we need to get into. We're just going to mess this up. Sometimes big corporations do things the wrong way. Often big corporations do the things the wrong way. So if they weren't prepared to really handle it, they shouldn't have even stepped into the ring. Here's another story. Sony is not comfortable leading the VR charge. Wants more competition. I wouldn't really be comfortable as Sony leading the VR charge either, because the Sony VR headset is the least powerful and least likely to succeed of them all. It only has the benefit of being part of the Sony PlayStation that it has gotten a foothold, whereas everything else is its own unique PC thing. Let's try a rogue game this time. Rogue. Let's see. When is this game coming out? Oh, it's already out. There's a Thai horror game called Home Sweet Home that looks a lot like The Ring. Scary. Thai horror movies have got it down. Like, pretty much the Asian horror movies in general have that beautiful factor of being unfamiliar to the Western world, and that means the horror stories can play out a lot better. Like, compared to Halloween, where it's just a bunch of Western kids at a Western camp being chased by a guy with a machete. there's no weirdness or mythology or mysticism in that, so it's easy to understand. And eventually you just get desensitized to that, and you know what's happening. That's why by the time you're in the later Halloween stories, it's really, how are we gonna fight these guys? We can fight back, we can win, and it stops being a horror and becomes just an action thing. Here's another game. Creeping Terror launches October 31st in North America and Europe on the 3DS eShop and Steam. That is really late for a scary game. It's a side-scrolling horror game. I think I want to actually see that one, but let's see. Like this, that's just too late though. Honestly, like, why are you gonna put out your horror game on October 31st? Why not October 1st? Like, when I cover October on my channel, all of October is Halloween month, because I want to play a horror game on October 1st and be wrapping it up by the 31st. I don't want to start coverage of a game on the 31st and then be near November 28th or November 31st. Is there a November 31st? I wish I knew my months.
Here we go.
Anyways, the point is, don't wait till Halloween to put out your scary game. Nobody is shopping for new video games on Halloween. It just doesn't happen. Let's see, man, I still have so many pages. It's a YouTube channel by, let's see, subscribe. The CEO of YouTube got a YouTube channel, so I'll look at that. Keep an eye on her and see what she's saying. I don't even know if I really particularly have any dislike for the CEO of YouTube, as much as I just think there is too much internal control of YouTube. There's too many people with too many opinions in the middle, and not enough control at the top. And that's not good when working with a company. Like, I don't want to go contract for somebody to fix my plumbing, and then they tell their plumber employee to go fix my plumbing, and they go, no, I'm not going to fix this plumbing. That I've got better things to do. I want to do this instead. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that in my life. And that's kind of what I think you get in YouTube, is that while the CEO may have a clear vision of what they want for YouTube, there's a lot of other people that are messing with the algorithm, I think. There's a lot of people that are instituting rules and pushing for rule changes, and it's a mess. It needs better control. And so that would be the one thing I would probably say the CEO is lacking, is she probably doesn't have tight enough reins on her employees. Anyways, back to video games. Assassin's Creed Origins will offer a combat-free educational mode, which will be used by nobody. Like, you're not gonna get another Carmen Sandiego game out. Like, we're never gonna have another situation where a game that is popular becomes an educational game. It's always going to be either the game was designed to be educational in the first place, and it somehow convinces schools to buy the software or use the software for free, or in the other case, the schools are going to not use software at all.
The gates are open.
I think in general they're just not going to use software at all. The main issue with having an Assassin's Creed Origins version that's violence free, it allows somebody, if the kids are all on computers, it allows any one of those kids to install the regular Assassin's Creed Origins with the violence, and just whenever the teacher isn't looking or pay attention, do some acts of violence while nobody's looking. But from the video game perspective, this is really scary, because this tells me that they probably don't have the greatest of games. That's what I'm getting from this, is the Assassin's Creed Origin is a little bit rudderless, and that's what I think is the case. That we're gonna see there's not much of a story and not much to do in it, and we already kind of knew it was going in some weird directions, because it was becoming more RPG-ish. Valve has partnered with Shapeways for really no reason, to give its 3D assets to Shapeways. Shapeways is, I think, a shop where they will 3D print the assets and then mail it to you, but maybe you can just get the file. And apparently you can resell the Valve products. So in a very roundabout way, Valve is allowing you to use Valve assets to make products to sell to other people. It seems that's crazy. Let's see. I guess there's nothing you really can see. How much does the Valve license cost? Valve license itself is free. As part of the license, you must pay Valve 10% of the retail price for every game-related model sold. There is no royalty payment for hardware-related models. Any license payment will be deducted from your shop. So 10% of your sales of whatever you make if you use Valve assets. So Valve just found a way to make some more money. And slightly connected to this, there's an Indiegogo where somebody has built a dial into a valve, and you can turn the valve up and down to turn up or turn down your internet. Like, why would you actually want to do that? Blizzard released a Battle.net mobile app for Android and iOS. Didn't it already have that? Like, yeah, the Blizzard Authenticator app has been around for a while. Like, you can add friends, email address, or QR code, chat with them, and mark yourself online. It's basically just a chat thing. Let's see. And the Authenticator is a separate app. Okay, so now Blizzard has a chat app for people that want to chat on Blizzard.
Where shall I strike?
James Anderson misheard me. I said assets. Assets. A-S-S-E-T-S. Agents of Mayhem Studio Evolution is laying off roughly 30 employees and probably a lot more because Agents of Mayhem was not a successful product, and it probably was pretty obvious it wasn't going to be a successful product. I already saw another company tweeting out saying we'll hire you, for anybody that's been laid off. Also, 30 people being laid off might be 30 playtesters. They may not have been the good programmers, but you never know. That's sadly just a part of the way video game development works, is the fact that you make a game and then there's a decent chance you're going to get laid off after making the game. Let's see. Back to Warrior now. Still trying to get a victory. It sucks, and that's why we need more unionization in the video game industry amongst programmers. A lot of people were stupidly complaining because the SAG-AFTRA voice actors were asking for royalties, and every single argument against the fact that they were asking for royalties was, well, even the programmers don't get royalties. The programmers don't get that. The programmers don't get that. And I'm like, the only way the SAG-AFTRA voice actors union can help the programmers whatsoever is to get more things for the voice actors. Thus, the programmers can go make a union and demand equal treatment. Like, that's the only thing they can do. Like, you can't tell one union they shouldn't try to get the best for the people they're representing just because some other group of people is being mistreated. It's such a dumb argument. Like, I didn't think they were going to get royalties. Often when you're negotiating a strike, you ask for the moon and you meet halfway. But it would have been nice if they had gotten it, honestly, because then the conversation could easily be had, why don't programmers have better hours? Why don't programmers have job security? Why don't they get royalties? Why aren't they paid a reasonable overtime? Just implementing overtime would probably stop a lot of the crunch. I imagine there's many unethical things done in the video game programming where you're required to work off hours, you get emails when you're home, you're getting phone calls when you're home. It's not a good job environment, and only through the power of negotiation, which works better when you have a union, is that going to get any better, because the CEOs don't care. For sure. They love abusing their employees and firing them. A little bit of rant there. NVIDIA CEO says Moore's Law is dead and GPUs will replace CPUs. In a way, I think he might be right there. I mean, for most average usage, in almost every instance, it feels like a GPU is becoming more and more capable as just a general purpose, general processing unit instead of a graphics processing unit. That's why we've seen Bitcoin mining running on GPUs and encryption on GPUs. GPUs just have faster RAM and faster access to the RAM. They've been designed around that, and the standards for the CPUs aren't adapting those concepts fast enough. That being said, there is also the amazing market of people who just want a PC to give to their employees, and so there will still be a market for a cheap Pentium processor with Intel HD graphics and nothing more. And people would much prefer to pay $70 for a video card, for a CPU with a video card in it, than pay $500 for a top-of-the-line Titan Ti game. Let's see. This and this and this. Here's a 3DS game that called Cul-de-Sac Revolt. That's like a card-based Monopoly style game. I'm gonna have to look this one up because this article is from a website I don't recognize. Killer Instinct is on Steam now, so that's yet another game. Man, since the last stream, Cuphead, Killer Instinct, Hob, 3 games I want to play. I haven't wanted to play a new game much at all. For almost since the beginning of the year, and now it's starting to get busy. Valve representative says no Steam Dev Days this year and not likely next year either. Yeah, Steam is not developing anything, so why would they have a Steam Dev Days? Let's see.
The gates are open.
Man, just gotten down to the point where I can see icons on the web pages. Soma Studios' next game is in full production and will be horrific. Penumbra, Amnesia, The Dark Descent, Soma has another game in it. The thing about all of those games, though, is I don't think they were actually had much interaction. They were kind of just horror walking simulators, or close to it. So if they make another game and they're just going to churn out a horror game every year or so, Frictional Games is going to become a one-note wonder. They say they have 2 new projects going on right now. Interesting. But those were popular games too, mostly because of YouTubers, though. That's not worth reporting on. Let's see. Itadaki, Street Dragon Quest, and Final Fantasy 30th Anniversary is, let's see, coming out. They're launching for the PlayStation 4 and the Vita on October 19th, and that is like one board game that has 2 series of characters in it. So yeah, this is like a Mario Party style game, it looks like, without the fun of Mario. I don't know if it really has any mini games in it though. It seems like it might not. Again, this is probably not a game coming to the West. Here's the article I already talked about, where Persona 5 emulator was targeted by Atlas. Well, here's PC Gamer editorializing completely inaccurately. PC Gamer is the worst website, really. They don't deserve the name PC Gamer. Right here at the top it says, PC Gamer, the global authority on PC games. Not true. They're terrible. It's not a Persona 5 emulator. It's a PlayStation 3 emulator they can play, or is at least attempting to run all PlayStation 3 games. The fact that there is an Atlas game for the PlayStation 3 doesn't really make any difference. Let's see. Moving on. Poison Soft's Order of the Land coming to Switch on September 28th in Japan. This is a top-down RPG for the Switch. It was originally on the 3DS in 2013. It's selling for 888 yen, so about $10. Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna really miss that one not coming to the West. I don't even think even in Japan that'll sell that well. Maybe it has some name recognition, but I don't recognize it. Let's see, Dark Devotion is a 2D indie RPG as dark as the name suggests. When is it coming out? So much of the news is on Kickstarter until October 17th, so it's never coming out. So much of the video game news is just announcements of games. That's all it really is. Elite Dangerous Mysterious Aliens declared war. So the Thargoids, Thargoids, apparently started attacking. This is really just a long viral marketing scheme. They patched it so you saw these, so some of the players saw these creatures, and now the creatures are attacking, and finally the Elite Dangerous is gonna be more of a game. Man, and I think we might be
Time waits for no one.
what is the name of this game here? Celestian Tales Realms Beyond. It's a Kickstarter campaign with a old school RPG with 6 branching stories, which that doesn't sound fun at all. That sounds like kind of the exact opposite of what you would want in an RPG. Having even more characters to remember names and relationships with. Yeah, that's a stupid idea. I don't want 6 branching stories. I want something tight and easy to comprehend, not a ever expanding story with even more characters. But then again, I guess I'm not a real fan of the old school RPGs anyway, so maybe fans of the old school RPG people are more into something like that. What is this? The Humble Bundle, Humble Gems Bundle 2. I don't own any of these games, and I think that's probably because they all suck. Sorry to say, but I'm looking here at the middle offer, which is typically what I look at on the Humble Store, for $6.36. I don't want to spend that much money for any of those games or all those games combined. For even $1, I don't think I even want to spend the $1 minimum to get 3 Steam keys to random games. Like, I'm gonna have to redo my November stream, my November pre-recorded things next year, because I won't have that many free games probably, and so I'll probably have to phrase it more along the lines of cheap games, but so yeah, I don't think I'd spend any money on that. And now I'm back to Twitter, and here's some new news since I started, and Let's see if there's any other bit of news worth mentioning. Great, entertaining content here as I sit on the defeat screen. No, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with the news, which tells me I am done with the recording and the stream too. So how much progress did we make on stream today? Like, we can talk about this piece of news. Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter launches November 17th in North America. Okay. So, that's that piece of news. Now, Tavern Brawl for the European account we got done. We got everything done on the America account. And we still need one more victory with the Rogue Warrior. I need to play 50 Paladin class cards and 6 more Elementals. Which I probably could overlap these two and get this done. And then we didn't even touch the Asian account. And I think that's pretty much how this is going to go on these streams. Streams are going to be shorter. As soon as I run out of news to talk about, there's really no reason to go any further. So that's going to be it for this stream. I enjoyed it. Nice to talk to James Anderson and Red Phoenix. We got a decent number of comments. It didn't explode into something crazy though. Something super long. But that's fine because I really was getting burnt out, and part of the reason at least why I wasn't getting as much work done was the fact that I was spending so much time streaming, extra time streaming. So I'll do all the daily quests off screen. Again, that's it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.